All right, hey everybody, we're going to start a little differently here. We're going to hop into Cartographer, and I wanted to show you again what Cartographer looks like here. Rather than jumping straight into Hades Star, the limitations of my screen recorder here wants me to start here. So we're going to go ahead and upload go ahead and use the White Star Cartographer. I will include a link in the Discord, but to show you how this works. So first things first, you're going to need a screenshot of your White Star. Go ahead and open up the File Explorer here, pop in here. I already had a preloaded screenshot. And so you'll see the screen, you'll see it paste in here, and the very next step here that it wants us to do is to calibrate. All right, that's not working for me. So what we're going to do here is simply add in calibration point 1 from one corner. You're going to go to the opposite corner. So all this is doing is trying to calibrate the image size. All right, so I got my 2 points. Now what it's telling me up here is that each sector should be 500 AU diagonally. So I just told it what 2 corners were opposite from each other on any given sector. And to calibrate and make sure it's pretty close, you can see, again, my line's not perfect. That's pretty normal, but you are seeing 503.8 AU. That's pretty close. So if you ever wanted to go in and measure a distance or a time, how long would it take your ship to go from point A to point B, this is what Cartographer is going to do for you. So I'm going to reset some waypoints. Say you wanted to know again, hey, how far is it from my jump gate to my planet? You're seeing it's 874 AU. Transit time without mods, a battleship will be 14 hours and 30 minutes. Transport 15 hours, 11 minutes, a miner 20 hours. Rockets will go these speeds. Again, you can go into here and you can tweak things as well. You can come in and say, all right, I've got time warp 12. And we'll close that menu. And you can go ahead and see that, again, that same distance is already measured. It's applying these benefits here. How fast will these ships get from point A to point B? So if you don't have the ability to play in Time Machine to see how the timings all work, again, you can go ahead and play with Cartographer. This does assume, though, that you will have time over 12 on whatever these 5, 6, 7 things over here are in transport at the time. That will be under time over 12 the entire duration. So again, you can put in some TP ranges, some impulse ranges. You can even toggle on weapons range. So you'll know at what point they've now crossed into weapons range of each other. You can apply a delta shield for speed. We've also added in some shield duration calculators, so you can apply your time warp and again how much time you'll have for your shields. You can also do mining speed calculators and mining results. So again, some really just useful stuff on here, but Cartographer mostly has been used for, again, an earlier career time, when if you're not quite seasoned enough to understand roughly how long it's going to take you to go from point A to point B. Cartographer is pretty useful. And what you'll be doing, obviously, as a White Star player, one of the key hints I can give you is use Time Machine, which is in a separate video. But you use Time Machine, you wouldn't normally try and transport straight from here to here. Let me reset these waypoints. The math's going to go crazy. Because, again, it's going to take a long time. So let me set that back down to 0 and put in. You wouldn't always, you wouldn't just jump your battleship in and try and go from your jump gate straight to the planet if you have other options in between, because you've now just locked in your battleship for almost 13 hours, and the enemy can see that. What you would try and do is use waypoints. Even though it's going to take you slightly longer to get there, it gives your opponents even less time to pay attention or to notice. If you put in waypoints in Time Machine from, let me reset some waypoints here. If we went from here to here, and then down to there, then over to here, and then up to the planet, yeah, you did increase the time a little bit, but the enemy will only see it point by point, position by position here. So again, I'm going to go ahead and they would only see you during this time. They would only see your destination here, and then once you import it into Time Machine, they'd only be able to see it here when it actually enters in from Time Machine, then to here, then to here. You're giving them much smaller windows of opportunity to catch up to you or to see what your next moves are. That is why we use Time Machine. All right, I'm going to attempt to back out of this now, and if I can, I'm going to cut over to... Perfect, it's going to let me do that. Let me see if I can erase these out of here. Perfect. Jump into Hades Star now. So Cartographer, I know it's the first thing I listed on the post here, but we're going to jump into now as well and just have a look at the map. For some of these, it'll be much easier if I go in and find an existing match and try and show you what a match looks like. A brand new match. It'll be easier to see. There'll be less traffic and less ships on the map, so it'll be easier for us to view a few different things here. All right, so this is a standard white star map. The jump gates will spawn randomly, but they will almost always be, I don't think I've ever seen a match that I can recall now, they will almost always be on separate sides, a kind of a mirror of each other. So the other thing you should also be aware of with a white star is most of your commanders, at least in UIH, will use grid terminology. And most of the grids are pinned with their translations of what sector is which. But the grid is generally, it's column A, column B, column C, column D, E, F, and G. And then we number it down. So column A here, this would be A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, and so on. With D4 being the center star. D1, 2, 3, and 4. 5, 6, and 7 is the bottom of the map. So just so that you're aware, that is what the acronyms are telling you. So if someone's telling you, hey, go ahead and go to E3, they're talking about this sector here. So again, A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3. All right, some other notable things about the map. So when you first scan a white star, again, it's going to randomly generate, but there are some general things that happen on white stars. Most of the time, the planets are usually a mirror on both sides. They try and the map does generate randomly, but it is generally a mirror of each other from one side to the other. So if we were to try and draw out here, you would see again that those two are kind of center, or these are equidistant from each other. You can see these P5s are listed here, and I'll discuss what those are. But more or less, if you draw a line through the map like that, you generally will see the same amount of hydrogen and asteroids and generally the same placement of planets over here, just in mirror to the ones that are over here. Obviously, there's a pretty big exception going on right here with this P10. And we'll discuss again what a P10 is, but it did not mirror onto the other side as it probably should have. But again, P10s aren't always a mirror on both sides. Usually you'll honestly see P10s on, especially on larger maps. Larger team matches. This is a 5v5, but normally you'll see 3 P10s, and they'll usually be somewhere right along the line or within the sectors along the line, and they will be mirrored of each other. Clear with that notation there. All right, let's go ahead and jump in here. This map, perfect, there is a P1. So when I say a P1, I do mean a planet level 1. Usually these are the closest to your jump gate. They generate the least amount of relics. They take 500 hydrogen dropped onto the planet to generate a relic, or they naturally generate a third of a relic every day. By the way, those are impacted. The spawns per planet, the natural generation is impacted by time warp. But we'll go ahead and jump up here to the P5. This is what a P5 looks like. Let me zoom in. This is a P5. Again, usually a little bit bluish with kind of this explosion on it here. But this is a P5. Again, takes 300 hydrogen per relic to be generated here. So if you mine, say, 600 hydrogen, drop it on here, it will generate 2 additional relics, as well as it generates a third of a relic per day, naturally, again, impacted by time warp. Now we're going to zoom out over and go to our P10. These tend to be reddish. They typically are the furthest planets from your jump gates, but they're also, again, generally equidistant from each jump gate, meaning that if it's 4 sectors away from yours, it typically is about 4 sectors away from your opponents. These ones obviously generate the most amount of relics. They're usually in the most contested area of the map. 1 relic per day natural generation, so they generate 3 times faster than the others. And they also take only 150 hydrogen per relic generated. So P10s tend to be the hotspots. A lot of fighting goes around on P10s. Now the next thing, so those are the different planets, and apologize, I will zoom in here real quick and show you what a P1 looks like. To me, they're kind of bronze-ish, and they again look like desert planets in my eyes. All right, next thing that you should know, each sector, each of the hydrogen on the map is generally, again, it's mirrored on both sides. Sectors without a planet in them, like this one over here, these will generate either 300 and 350 hydrogen. I want to say these are 350. I always mix them up with the planet ones. They generate, I believe these generate only 300. So if you sum up, it doesn't matter how many asteroids are there, the total amount of hydrogen per sector is the same depending upon the sector type. So this is a non-planet, non-rich sector. I want to say it's 350 hydrogen as of the time of the video. So this sector has, again, more asteroids than this one, but they generate the same amount of hydrogen because they don't have a planet and they're not a rich sector. So all 4 of these, honestly, they will generate the same amount of hydrogen, just naturally at the start of the match. Planet ones generate less, if I remember correctly, again 300. Each planet doesn't matter, it's a P1, a P5, or a P10. It is 300 hydrogen. It doesn't matter the number of asteroids. The final sectors that you will see on the map are usually with thicker asteroids, bigger asteroids, and these are rich sectors. These will always equal 3,000 hydrogen. So it doesn't matter how many asteroids again, it's by sector. So this one only has 3 asteroids. They probably each have just around 1,000, as you can see, 956, 919, and 1125. You sum those up, it will be 3,000 hydrogen. While this one has 4, you'll see the amounts are a little bit less. Again, summation total here will add up to 3,000 hydrogen. Those are considered rich sectors. These are non-rich sectors, non-planet, and these again are planet sectors. So the hydrogen is also, by the way, usually a mirror, so from one side to the other. So we see that D5 and D6 both are rich sectors. I'm quickly glancing over. I'm not seeing any other rich sectors near this jump gate. So we're going to go up here, and we should see that the same. So here's the jump gate, adjacent by 1, and then the one just on more towards the center of the star. Again, these are rich sectors. Interestingly enough, these are both just dual asteroids, but again, 3,000 hydrogen. Same amount of hydrogen on both sides, just different asteroids. While there may or may not be, I mean, it's arguable that there are some benefits to having more asteroids due to remote mining. It's easier, it's faster to mine because you have more asteroids mining simultaneously, but it tends to be pretty much a null discussion. It's not very anything that's drastic. Again, the hydrogen on both sides generally is identical. Now, the next thing to know, there is hydrogen that will spawn during the match. The first ones are these, maybe it'll be easier if I demonstrate here. There are rings, if you will, on a white star. So obviously you have your center star here. On this ring here, this is what I kind of call the core ring. These ones will generate 3,000 hydrogen asteroids later in the game. So there's already their natural hydrogen on these, but later in the game, I want to say it's either 36 or 48 hours into the match, it will generate an asteroid dead center on each of these for 3,000 hydrogen each. Let's change my color here. On the next ring, kind of the middle ring of sectors, these will generate 800, and these generally, I want to say it's 24 hours, and I will demonstrate this in just a few minutes here, but these will generate 800 hydrogen at the 24-hour mark. Again, always in the center of the sector. The only exception that you need to be aware of is planet sectors. Planet sectors will not. It doesn't matter if it's a 3,000 hydrogen zone or the 800 hydrogen zone. If there's a planet in the sector, it will not generate that asteroid. So these ones don't have planets, so these ones will all generate. This one will not. Again, same if we had a planet 1, planet 10, planet 5 in the center ring, the more central ring, again, would not generate. But if they don't, if they're just asteroids, then they will generate. And then the outer ring itself will not generate any outside. They will not generate later in the game any additional hydrogen. All right, so I will now demonstrate that real quick. We're gonna hop in time machine. This is just a public match I found, and we'll go to about, I think we're gonna need to go about 24 hours or so into the match. Since this is just a match that just started, we'll go probably about 23, 24 hours here, and there they are, 23.6. They already had about half an hour spent. You can see again, all the sectors in that center, in that kind of the central or second ring here, all got 800 hydrogen. You can see all the asteroids spawn there. Again, the sole exception were these P5s. They did not generate one. I'm going to move forward. I think it's at the 48-hour mark. Hopefully I'm not wrong. We'll slow down around the 36. Okay, it didn't come, so it's got to be around 48 then. Around 48, here we are. These are the 3,000 hydrogens asteroids I'm talking about, so they spawn even later in the game, 2 days into the match. They will spawn in the center. These ones tend to be trickier to honestly to mine because most of your mining squads, for the most part, will generally have remote mining equipped, which means they'll mine a single asteroid of that size slower because it's remote mining. So you'll end up mining out these additional smaller asteroids much quicker, but then you're stuck slow mining. This is where Munity or mining Unity comes into handy. You'll have a bunch of miners with mining Unity on it. That's the percentage bonus for every miner that's in the sector mining on your team. You'll get a percentage bonus. For your mining speed, that's always usually really great. So is mining boost. And then you will also get players who will use crunch, which is an instant, just immediately consume so much hydrogen off of that sector and put it into your storage tanks up to your maximum for the miner. So crunch and mining unity or munity are very useful, especially on the 3000 hydrogen asteroids. All right, I have now covered in this one, just as a review, we covered Cartographer. I can't go back to it. The video will cut on me, but Cartographer, again, used to measure distances from corner to corner. Any corner of these hexagons is 500 AU, and that will also help you. It'll show you, again, how fast your ship will travel, how long it will take. You can apply time warp manipulations to it, delta shield manipulations to it. Again, very useful for when traveling if you want to, again, get really precise about how long it's going to take and you don't have the ability to go into Time Machine and play with it. So say you're the commander, you're trying to see how long it's going to take miners to get from point A to point B. If they want a direct route, you could plug it in. You could even plug it in with the small bouncing maneuvers and still get a total route time. So we covered Cartographer, we covered the naming conventions for the sectors. Again, the grid, those are typically pinned in every White Star orders channel. If they're not, just go ahead and ask your commander and they will find one and pin it for you. The 800 and the 800 hydrogen spawns, the 3000 hydrogen spawns, and then just again the basics of the planets. And you'll notice they're always different, but there's generally always P1s, P5s, and P10s. Sometimes there's 3 P10s, which is pretty common on a 15 versus 15 map, and I believe even the 10v10. This is a 5v5 map, so I think that's why there's only a single. The only other thing that I haven't covered yet that should be noted is there are different Cerebus units will spawn at the very beginning of the match. Storms, this is a storm, they will continue to go in the same circle, they fire darts, they can actually be quite deadly, so be very careful around them. There are bombers, which will shoot rockets. If you're Red Star 7 or above, you will understand what those are and how they work. If not, consult with your command staff or with another more experienced White Star player, and they can walk you through those. And then Colossus, which are giant capital ships first introduced in Red Star 5. Very powerful, very useful. Big shields, big laser, can be, again, quite deadly if you're not careful. They are a capital ship, just like the bombers, just like the storms. So they can be quite deadly to individual ships, but they all have their different uses. So those are also for more of an advanced topic, so I won't cover those here. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out either on Discord or here in the comments. Look forward to our next session.